She stood at the back of the wedding hall, one hand resting on her swollen belly, the other clutching a small invitation card that had arrived 3 weeks ago. The music stopped mid-note. 200 heads turned. The bride froze halfway down the aisle, her bouquet trembling in her hands. And the groom, standing at the altar in his perfectly tailored suit, went completely pale. Clara Hayes hadn't come to cause a scene. She hadn't come for revenge or drama or to make a viral moment. She had come because 6 months ago, when her ex-husband filed for divorce, he had made her a promise. He said he wanted closure. He said he wanted to do things right. He said she would understand everything if she just trusted him one more time. And now, standing in this room filled with white roses and champagne glasses and people who had no idea who she was, Clara realized exactly what kind of closure Ethan had in mind. The kind where she disappeared, the kind where his past became invisible, the kind where a pregnant woman carrying his child simply didn't exist. But here's the thing about invisible people. Sometimes they're the only ones who can see the truth. Hello, friends. Before we dive deeper, welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Florida, United Kingdom, maybe South Africa or Jamaica? We want to know. The groom's jaw tightened. His best man whispered something, but Ethan didn't move. He just stared at Clara with the kind of anger that comes from being caught, not from being wronged. The bride turned to look at her future husband, confusion spreading across her face like spilled wine. Her mother stood up from the front row, mouth open, one hand clutching her pearls. The wedding planner pressed a finger to her earpiece, probably wondering if security needed to be called. But nobody moved, because Clara wasn't yelling. She wasn't crying. She wasn't making a scene. She was just standing there, 7 months pregnant, holding an invitation that had his signature on it. And that's what made it terrifying. Why would a man invite his pregnant ex-wife to his wedding? Why would he send a formal card with her name written in calligraphy? Why would he want her there unless he had planned something? And more importantly, what kind of man humiliates the mother of his unborn child in front of 200 people and calls it closure? The room buzzed with whispers. Phones came out. Someone in the third row started recording. This wasn't just a wedding anymore. It was a reckoning. 11 years earlier, Clara met Ethan Hayes at a community college career fair. He was 23, working 2 jobs, trying to get his business degree while paying off student loans. She was 21, studying nursing, living in a basement apartment with 2 roommates and a landlord who refused to fix the heat. They bonded over cheap coffee and shared dreams. He told her he wanted to build something that mattered. She told him she wanted to help people who couldn't help themselves. They got married 9 months later in a courthouse ceremony with 6 people in attendance. No photographer, no honeymoon. Just 2 people who believed love and hard work were enough. And for a long time, they were. Clara took night shifts at the hospital so Ethan could focus on building his consulting firm. She missed holidays, skipped family dinners, worked doubles so they could save enough to move into a better apartment. When his first client dropped him, she held him while he cried. When his business partner stole his ideas and started a competitor, she took out a loan so he could hire a lawyer. When nobody believed in him, she did. Without question, without hesitation, without keeping score. Then 4 years ago, something changed. Ethan's firm landed a major contract with a tech company. Money started coming in, real money, the kind that bought new cars and downtown condos and invitations to events where people wore name tags and talked about market disruptions. Ethan started traveling. He started working late. He started coming home smelling like expensive cologne and talking about people Clara had never met. She didn't complain. She thought this was the dream they had worked for. But dreams have a way of changing shape when success enters the room. 6 months ago, Clara took a pregnancy test in the bathroom of their condo while Ethan was on a business trip. 2 pink lines. She cried, not from fear but from relief. After years of waiting, of putting off children because they were building a future, it was finally happening. She planned how to tell him. She bought a little pair of baby shoes. She imagined his face when he saw them. But when Ethan came home from his trip, he didn't ask about her day. He didn't kiss her hello. He set his suitcase down in the hallway and said 4 words that shattered everything. I want a divorce. Back at the wedding, Ethan descended from the altar. His groomsmen shifted uncomfortably. The officiant, an older man with white hair and a confused expression, looked at the bride as if asking for permission to continue. But the bride wasn't looking at anyone. She was staring at Clara's belly. Ethan walked down the aisle slowly, deliberately, his jaw set in that way Clara recognized from arguments they used to have. The way he looked when he had already decided he was right and nothing she said would matter. He stopped 3 feet away from her, close enough that only the first few rows could hear. His voice was low, controlled, sharp as a scalpel. "You need to leave." Clara didn't flinch. She held up the invitation. "You sent this to me, Ethan. You wanted me here." "I sent that as a courtesy," he hissed. "Not an actual invitation." "A courtesy?" Her voice was calm, steady. "You wanted me to know you were moving on. You wanted me to see that you were happy, that I didn't matter anymore." His eyes flickered, just for a second, and Clara saw it, the crack in his armor. He hadn't expected her to come. He had sent the invitation thinking she would be too ashamed, too broken, too humiliated to show her face. He had wanted her to suffer quietly at home while he celebrated, but she hadn't, and now he didn't know what to do. "You're embarrassing yourself," he said, louder now, loud enough for the room to hear. "I'm standing here," Clara said simply. "That's all." And that's when he did it. Ethan reached forward and grabbed the fabric of her dress near her shoulder. The sound of tearing cloth echoed through the hall like a gunshot. Gasps erupted from every direction. Someone screamed. The bride covered her mouth. Clara stumbled back slightly, one hand instinctively protecting her belly, the other catching the torn fabric before it fell completely. The room exploded into chaos. Phones were everywhere now. The wedding planner was shouting into her headset. Ethan's mother stood up, her face twisted in horror, and Ethan just stood there, breathing hard, his hands still raised as if he couldn't believe what he had just done. But Clara didn't cry. She didn't collapse. She didn't run. She adjusted the fabric, straightened her spine, and looked him dead in the eye. "You thought shame would break me," she said quietly. "But you never understood the difference between humiliation and dignity." If you're still watching, comment where you're from. Because what happens next is something nobody in that room saw coming. For a moment, nobody moved. The room was frozen in a tableau of shock and confusion and secondhand horror. Clara could feel every pair of eyes on her. She could hear whispers starting in the back rows, spreading like wildfire. She could see Ethan's chest rising and falling, his fists clenched, his face red with anger he didn't even try to hide. And then she spoke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just clearly. "Everyone here thinks they know what's happening," Clara said, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "They think I'm the crazy ex-wife, the bitter woman who couldn't let go, the one who showed up to ruin a beautiful day." She paused. "Let the words settle. But I didn't come here to ruin anything. I came here because 3 weeks ago, Ethan sent me that invitation along with a letter. A letter where he said he wanted to make things right, that he wanted to take responsibility, that he wanted our child to know their father." The bride's head snapped toward Ethan. Her eyes were wide, disbelieving. Ethan opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Clara continued. "The same week he sent me that letter, I received divorce papers. Papers that were filed in a rush. Papers that waived his parental rights. Papers that transferred assets into a trust I didn't even know existed." The whispers grew louder. Ethan's best man took a step back. His mother sat down heavily, her face ashen. "I didn't understand why he was in such a hurry," Clara said. "Why he needed the divorce finalized before the baby was born. Why he kept insisting I sign documents without reading them. And then I found out about this wedding, about the fact that it was scheduled for exactly 2 weeks after our divorce was supposed to be final." She looked at the bride, really looked at her. And for the first time, Clara felt something other than anger. She felt pity. "He told you I was the problem, didn't he?" Clara said gently. "He told you I was holding him back, that I didn't understand his success, that I wanted things he couldn't give me." The bride's lip trembled. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. "He lied," Clara said, "not just to you, to everyone. Because the truth is, Ethan doesn't want to be a father. He doesn't want responsibility. He wants a life where his past doesn't exist and his mistakes disappear. Ethan finally found his voice. That's enough. No, Clara said. It's not. Clara reached into her small purse and pulled out a manila envelope. It was thin, unremarkable, the kind you could buy at any office supply store. But the way Ethan's face changed when he saw it told everyone in the room that it mattered. When you asked me to sign the divorce papers, Clara said, you told me it was standard, that your lawyer had structured everything fairly, that I would be taken care of. She opened the envelope and pulled out several pages. What you didn't tell me was that by transferring your assets into an offshore trust and by listing me as a creditor rather than a spouse, you accidentally gave me legal standing to challenge every business decision you make for the next 18 years. The color drained from Ethan's face. That's not. It is, Claire interrupted. I had 3 lawyers review it. You were so focused on hiding money from child support calculations that you didn't realize what you were signing. The trust you created? I have a legal claim to it. The company shares you transferred? They're tied to a marital asset dispute that's still open. The prenuptial agreement you tried to enforce retroactively? Invalid because you filed it after we separated. She looked around the room. Ethan didn't just divorce me. He tried to erase me. He tried to make sure that when this baby is born, I would have no legal recourse, no financial support, no way to prove he was the father without a costly court battle he knew I couldn't afford. The bride took a step back from Ethan. Her bouquet fell to the floor. But here's what he didn't count on, Clara continued. He didn't count on me keeping every text message, every email, every voicemail where he admitted paternity, every bank record showing he paid for prenatal appointments before he decided to pretend this baby didn't exist. She held up her phone. And he definitely didn't count on me recording the conversation where he offered me $50,000 to go away, to sign an NDA, to pretend this child was someone else's. Ethan lunged forward, but his best man caught him, held him back. The wedding planner was on her phone, clearly calling someone. Security, police, lawyers. It didn't matter anymore. You want to know why I came today? Clara asked, her voice finally breaking just slightly. Not for revenge. Not to humiliate you, but because I wanted you to see what you're walking away from. I wanted these people, your friends, your family, your new wife, to know exactly who you are when things get difficult. She placed one hand on her belly. This baby didn't ask to be born into this, but they will be, and they will know their father chose a wedding over their existence. They will know you tore my dress in front of 200 people because you couldn't handle the truth. Silence. Complete suffocating silence. And then the bride spoke. Her voice was small, barely a whisper, but in the quiet hall, everyone heard it. Is it true? Ethan didn't answer. He didn't have to. The truth was written all over his face. Clara turned and walked out of the wedding hall. She didn't run. She didn't storm out dramatically. She just left. Behind her, chaos erupted. Shouting, crying, the sound of chairs scraping as people stood up. But Clara didn't look back. She had said what she came to say. She had done what she needed to do. The rest wasn't her responsibility anymore. 3 months later, Clara gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She named her Grace, not because of religious reasons, but because grace was what Clara had learned in those dark months. Grace under pressure, grace in the face of cruelty, grace when the world tried to make her small. She moved to a smaller town 2 hours away, got a job at a local clinic, rented a little house with a backyard and a porch swing. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't the life she had imagined when she married Ethan 11 years ago. But it was hers, and it was honest. Ethan's wedding never happened. The bride called it off an hour after Clara left. According to social media, which Clara checked exactly once and then never again, Ethan's business took a hit when several clients quietly distanced themselves after videos of the wedding incident went viral. His reputation, built so carefully on charm and success, crumbled under the weight of his own cruelty. Clara didn't feel victorious. She didn't feel vindicated. She just felt tired and free because she had learned something important in those awful months. Dignity isn't about never falling. It's about how you stand back up. It's about refusing to let someone else's cruelty define your worth. It's about protecting what matters, even when the cost is everything you thought you wanted. Some people think strength is loud, that it's about fighting back with the same weapons used against you. But Clara learned that real strength is quiet. It's showing up even when you're terrified. It's telling the truth even when lies would be easier. It's holding your head high even when someone tries to tear you down. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply let the truth speak for itself. So here's the question I want you to think about. If you were in Clara's position, would you have gone to that wedding? Would you have stayed silent, protected yourself, kept your distance? Or would you have walked into that room, knowing what it would cost, and told the truth anyway? And what about Ethan? Do you think he deserved what happened? Or was Clara wrong to expose him so publicly? These aren't easy questions, because real life rarely is. But they're worth asking, because somewhere right now, someone is facing a choice like Clara's. Someone is deciding whether to speak up or stay quiet, whether to protect their dignity or protect their peace. And maybe, just maybe, Clara's story will help them choose. If you made it this far, drop a comment telling us what you would have done. Would you have been as brave as Clara? Or would you have handled it differently? And if this story moved you, hit that subscribe button, because there are more stories like this. Stories about real people facing impossible choices. Stories about courage that doesn't look like courage until you're living it. Stories that remind us that sometimes the quietest voices carry the most power. Thanks for watching. And remember, dignity always